Well, it's still there, isn't it? What an incredible weekend it has been. It was. It is Tuesday now, obviously, and we do look ahead to St Johnstone on Wednesday, Motherwell on Sunday. But it's just an incredible week, guys, and those photos are everything. I've got to say, I absolutely love the photo of Philippe holding the trophy in one hand, walking at Ibrox. Absolutely amazing. Well, hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. So apologies, the video is out a bit later this morning, but just absolutely knackered last night after work. Unfortunately, still having a full-time job, it does mean that I've got to try and fit all this in around that, guys, and it's not good. Not good at all. Well, first, I'm going to start with an apology. Podcast tonight, I've had to cancel it. Laura's son is unwell, so he's unable to come on to the pod tonight. But let's talk lots of different things. Anyway, Rangers today. Let's start off with a little bit of talking about the transfer news that's been around the club at this moment in time. We've got a little bit of a little wee cheeky one from Ali McCoist this morning on Talk Sport. Apparently, we're going to talk a little bit about what Ali said this morning. Gotta love Super Ali. He is an absolute legend. Just an absolute hero of a guy. Love his commentaries, love his little asides, and love his obviously getting the stick in at Celtic. We're also going to look at the Europa League draw that took place yesterday and how that might affect Rangers. I'll talk to you as well a little bit about other news around the club, as well as obviously at the end of the video. I'm going to talk a bit about the podcast, about the channel, about the what's coming up, and obviously what the ambitions are for the future. But shall we start off with a little bit of Super Ali? Let's talk for a little bit of Super Ali. Gotta love that. Oh, look at that face. What a man. What a hero. On Talk Sport this morning, apparently, Jeff Stelling asked him about what he wished for young Celtic fans for Christmas, which is a bit of a cheeky one, isn't it? But he said, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, but I hope we batter you on the 30th. Oh, you've just got to love the man. He is an absolute superstar. I've got to say, fully agree with what he says. I hope we absolutely batter them on the 30th. It does appear that there is a momentum building, but as Philippe Clement says, it is one game at a time. We need to make sure we do not get carried away. We do not get too far ahead of ourselves. We do not count our chickens before they're hatched, or our eggs before they're hatched, or our bunnies. I don't know what it is. It's something about being hatched anyway. So yeah, let's. But it's got to love that comment from Super Ali this morning, and it is a massive month for the club, isn't it? Huge month. After this, the unbelievable week last week with the 3 victories in a week, to want to keep the pressure on in the SPL title race, one to qualify for the top of the Europa League group, to go straight through to the round of last 16, which the draws on February the 23rd, and then obviously to win at the Viaplay League Cup on Sunday. A phenomenal week for the club, and we've just got to hope that they keep on that momentum going. It doesn't come all crashing down as it has in the past. You know what? Maybe we've all been scarred too often by the past, but I do think that there is, for me, I detect a sea change in attitude, a sea change in momentum, a sea change in mentality. And that, I think, has always been something that's held us back over recent years, isn't it? The mentality problem that we've all called that into question. And I don't think that's unfair. I don't think that makes us bad fans. I don't think that makes you a fake supporter. I think it just makes you a realist. If I'm being honest, you look at the games that we have let ourselves down in, and let the club down in, and let the fans down in. The Celtic games last year, the key ones, the cup final, the semi-final, the Aberdeen game at Pittodrie. The number of games where we've just not, we haven't carried on and we haven't delivered when we needed to deliver. And I think, to question the attitude and to question the mentality is perfectly legitimate. But I do think, though, now, Philippe Clement is slowly changing that mindset. Philippe Clement is bringing this club back to doing what it does best, which is win trophies. We've got to keep faith in the big Belgian. He said, didn't he, in his press conference, that he wants to win a title at Rangers, and I think he's right in calling for patience. He's right in talking in the way he talks. He's a proper manager, and one thing that has so impressed me about Philippe over the past few weeks and months that he's been in the job is he's not a manager that's come in and given it the big hoorah, giving it the big, we're going to win this, I'm going to do this, we're going to batter them, we're going to smash them, Celtic of this, Celtic of that. He's very, very much focused on one thing and one thing only, which is Rangers. And that's the way you need a manager to be. His sole focus is on improving this team, on getting the mentality right, getting the tactics right on the pitch, and moving the club forward as a whole. And his measured responses at all times are clever. They are succinct, and they are very, very much what we need at this point in time. He talks, doesn't he, very much along the lines of it's one game at a time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. He focuses solely on our players, on what we are doing as a club and where we are going as a club. And that is what we need. And, after perhaps the verbal diarrhea and the lies that came out of Michael Beale's mouth, it is time, I think, for that more realistic manager, that more professional manager. And just an aside on that, news that yesterday Sunderland appointed Michael Beale as their head coach. I really do pity that club. Any Sunderland fans watching, guys, you're in for an awful time. You are really. He plays boring football. His teams have no tactics. His teams have no energy, no identity. You have absolutely screwed pooch on this one. It's the worst appointment you could have made. Genuinely, the guy is not a head coach or a manager. He's just not anything. He just is a charlatan. Anyway, guys, let's move on to talk a little bit about this man here, Lawrence Shankland. Now, he is a man that, you know what, like a lot of players, even players that play for us, spectacularly divides the fan base, doesn't he? There's half the fan base, I think, that, well, actually, no, let's break it down. There's about 30, it's probably about what, 60% of the fan base that probably want him, 30% of the fan base that definitely don't want him, and 10% of the fan base that genuinely couldn't give a monkeys. What happens with Shankland. I want to focus solely on Rangers. Now, Shankland, we know, is a Rangers fan. That is confirmed. We know he's a Rangers fan. We know he's a Rangers man. And this is him celebrating after beating Celtic at the Parkhead on Saturday. Now, look, we know that for every team, beating one of the old firm is a major thing because it's their cup final, it's their big game, it's their everything, isn't it? They love to beat us. They love to try and take us on. But you can just see in Shankland's face, there's something a little bit extra, a little bit special about beating that lot from across the city in a game, isn't there? I think he does secretly love Rangers. And there was a little bit of a cheeky story yesterday on the media, in written media and on digital media, where they talked about the fact that on the SPL site, I think it was, or maybe the Viaplay site, I'm not sure where it was, but there was obviously the pictures and the post-game publicity for Rangers winning the Viaplay Cup, and apparently Lawrence Shankland liked those pictures, which apparently caused some Hearts fans to go into utter meltdown. Now, according to a couple of Hearts fans, this is absolutely traitorous behaviour. This is disgusting behaviour. They can't believe he's done it. It's disgraceful. It's disgusting. Guys, get a life. He's a Rangers fan. Of course he's going to like his team winning. You know what? You'd like your team winning. So just get over it. Get over it. But look, on the wider side of this thing, the discussion around Shankland. Look, Lawrence Shankland is a goal scorer. He's a guy who scores goals wherever he goes. And I know the concern around Lawrence Shankland is very much the fact that there's a worry that he wouldn't score goals in the Rangers team because he's not used to playing against the low block. He's not used to coming up against what we come up against week in, week out at Hearts. But I honestly think that, as a striker, as a player, if you've either got it or you haven't got it. You've either got the ability to find the net or you haven't got the ability to find the net. And you look back at the likes of, say, Chris Boyd, Kenny Miller, Chris Boydie especially, scored fantastic amounts of goals in Scotland. Not some great in Europe, but scored fantastic amounts of goals in Scotland. Honestly, I do believe, personally, my personal opinion on this is that Shankland would score a sackload of goals for us in the SPL, in the Scottish Cup. And I think would help us to really, perhaps consolidate that position of, if we win these games in hand, we go top. If we get top, stay top of this league and actually win the league. He is a goal scorer, and that's what we need at the end of the day. Neither Danilo or Dessers are goal scorers. They're not out and out goal scorers. Yes, they score the odd goal here and there, but they are not consistent goal scorers. Lawrence Shankland is a consistent goal scorer. What else about Shankland is that he really seems to have developed his game over the past few months, years, etc. He links up play a lot better. He distributes the ball a lot better. He runs with the ball a lot better. He's become a more all-round player. So you're not just getting a goal scorer, you're getting a better all-round player. Now, I know Hearts will play hardball on this. I know Hearts will want a maximum amount of money for him because of the fact it's Rangers asking. He's only under contract until 2025. So his contract is definitely running down. Now, there are obviously stories coming out of Tynecastle that negotiations have already begun with Shankland to tie him down to a longer-term deal. And Stephen Naismith apparently is very insistent on tying Shankland down. But, Shankland could easily force, if it was genuine that Rangers were interested and Niels Coppen, when he comes in, and Philippe Clement genuinely want this guy, there is ways to force through a move. Transfer request handed in, you do that and you kind of force the club's hand, don't you? Clubs don't want players who don't want to be there. There is a way to do that. And I think, we could get him. And personally, I think my personal opinion is now, I've really sat down and had a think about this. And honestly, I think Shankland would be a great acquisition. I think he'd be someone who would really add something to this team in terms of that goal-scoring threat in the final third. And, look, a lot of the time, that's what's missing from this team. We don't put teams away. We don't finish them off. We don't score enough goals at times. And we give teams the opportunity to come back, don't we? So Shankland, I think, could be the answer to that question. And as Philippe Clement says, this is a jigsaw. He's putting it together. It's a puzzle. He's putting it together a piece at a time. And Shankland, I think, could be an important piece. Yes, he doesn't fit the trading model, but look, the trading model works, but the trading model, as you see at a lot of other clubs, has to be applied flexibly. It cannot be rigid. It cannot be a one size fits all. At times, yes, you do buy players who you're going to develop and sell on. Of course you do. But at the same time, you need to also make sure that you buy experienced players who can come in and score, players who can come in and do it from minute one. That's what you need to do. You cannot really just only sign these young players to develop. That is not the way forward with this club. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of a possible deal for Lawrence Shankland in January. I think it will be a good one personally. So, but we all have different opinions. But as we know, football is a game of opinions. Well, also yesterday, the Europa League draw took place in Zurich. As always, UEFA made an absolute arse of it and made it last longer than it needed to last. It made it way, 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 way more complicated than it needed to be. So this is the draw for the league, next round of the Europa League, where obviously the Champions League teams that went out have come into the draw. So Milan play Rennes, which I think is that's a top tie, isn't it? Galatasaray play the Sparta Prague, who finished second in our group. Shakhtar Donetsk against Marseille. Another fascinating one there. Feyenoord Roma, a replay of last year's Conference League semi-final. Two big teams going head-to-head. Mourinho and Slot's teams going head-to-head yet again. Braga and Karabag, the weakest of the ties in this round here, which I put Lens and Freiburg into that same sort of category. Young Boys play Sporting and Benfica play Toulouse. Now, look, I know European competition is very, very hard to predict, isn't it? We all know that. We all know that European competition is notoriously difficult to predict and notoriously difficult to figure out who is going to go through. Now, look, if I was taking a bet on this, I would go for Milan. I would go for Gala. I would go for Marseille, under obviously former Rangers player Gennaro Gattuso. I'd go for Roma. I'd say Braga to go through. I'd say Benfica to go through. I'd say Sporting to go through. I would say probably Lens to go through out of those ties, which would give you an interesting collection of teams to go through from those groups, wouldn't it? Like I said, that's an interesting group of 8 teams who we could face. Now, if that comes off, and I know that's only a prediction and it might not come off, Milan, Gala, Marseille, Roma, Braga, Benfica, Sporting and Lens, they're all tough teams to face. They're difficult teams, and it would be a fantastic last 16 round. Realistically, you're probably looking at Lens or Braga as being the weaker of those teams and probably the teams you want to play. I would say that Milan are the team you want to avoid. But I'd love to know your thoughts, guys. I did put a tweet out on an X out or whatever the hell it's called on X yesterday, and got a lot of very much the opinion that it was Milan you wanted to avoid and it was Braga or Karabag you wanted to draw. But let me know in the comments here on the video, who would you like to draw? Who do you think will go through? And who do you want to avoid in that Europa League game? Now, guys, it is obviously building up to Wednesday night's game against St Johnstone, the first of our 2 games in hand over that horrible lot from across the city. It is a game we've got to win, obviously, and I just hope that these players have had enough time to recover, to get back and be ready to play and ready to go at Ibrox. And I hope that Ibrox is absolutely rocking on Wednesday night as we show our support for our fabulous team, our fabulous players. Look, at the end of the day, I do think it is going to be a situation where we do need to win this game. We do need to win this game. It is a game, I think, in December. We need to win every single game we are involved in. And that is the absolute must for me. Anyway, we'll obviously build up more tomorrow on the Matchday News channel. And I'm going to drop a video later, a bit of a preview. So please look out for that. Well, guys, that is pretty much it for this video this morning. Let me know what you think in the comments below. A couple of things to advertise to you coming up. I'm going to Thursday night. I need to schedule it. We're going to do a Q&A podcast. I'm going to put a post out on the channel and on X. Get your questions in, and we'll have your questions, and I'll answer your questions live on the show. That is coming up on Thursday. And guys, I've also scheduled the Christmas Day podcast. Yes, I am mental, but there will be a Christmas Day pod as well. There it is, guys. It will be going out Christmas Day, so come and join me. Talk about the presents you've got for Christmas. Hopefully, lots of Rangers presents. Talk about the year that's gone, the year that's going to come, and we'll obviously look ahead to the games as well. So, thank you so much for joining us, guys, this morning, this afternoon, or this evening, depending on when you did it. And as always, 2 things for me, please. Number 1, smash the like. And number 2, never forget, we are the people.